Today I'll be going for the Platinum Trophy on God of War Ragnarok's DLC, God of War Valhalla. After platinuming that game from my previous video, I really just couldn't resist the urge to chop more heads off, so that's why today I'll be getting all 12 trophies inside of Valhalla, despite it apparently taking multiple playthroughs and just overall being a nightmare. But anyway, we begin the DLC along with Mimir, just wandering about in our boat, cause apparently we received some sort of invitation to meet up with someone somewhere, which is quite creepy if you ask me. But we eventually make it to this completely deserted island where there's literally nothing except this giant door, which we obviously force open, which is where we first get introduced to how Valhalla works. Like many roguelike games, you go in fighting different waves of enemies, and after each wave you get different available upgrades that you get to only keep for that specific run. However, during this first run, for some reason Kratos is weak and can barely do anything, so I died almost instantly, but it's okay because that was actually supposed to happen for the story. We suddenly then wake up back on the island where I genuinely experienced one of the weirdest glitches of all time. Essentially, this entire cutscene had no dialogue audio the entire time, which actually made this whole sequence feel emptier than my social life. So I had to look up on YouTube what they were saying to understand that the point of this DLC is essentially for Kratos to go on a self-improvement winter arc journey. But anyway, we get our first trophy as well as our second trophy for changing Kratos' appearance and are now truly started with this DLC. So as you can imagine, I just went on a few more runs where I died a lot because I'm not the most skillful player ever, but eventually made my way to this spiral which teleported me to this room where we see Kratos' old throne. But apparently he hates it because he had a stroke and then find ourselves back on the island again. So I went in again like a true soldier and this time fought my way to the first Valhalla Chosen Slain, which are essentially mini boss fights that give much better rewards and unlock new pathways. So I defeated this dude named Fisk, which allowed me to get back to the throne room, only this time instead of Mimir we're actually carrying Helios, who apparently Kratos killed in the older God of War games that I have not played. But this time instead of dying again, we find ourselves back in Sparta and slowly make our way to the Chamber of Sacrifice. Like I said, I'm not sure what this place is, but I'm guessing whoever gets sacrificed dies since Kratos decides to put Helios inside of the cage, except at the last second he changes back into Mimir, but it's too late for Kratos to save him, and suddenly right before they're about to fall and actually die this time, they're saved by Sigrun, who sends us back to the island and also gives us a trophy, which is quite a nice gesture. Now I'm not gonna go over the beginning part every time since it's exactly the same. You go in, fight different waves of enemies until this time I ended up back in the Chamber of Sacrifice again. Except Kratos learned from his mistake, so instead of trying to kill Helios, he just sacrifices himself instead, which turns out to be the right decision since we find ourselves face to face with Tyr, who is essentially the final boss of every round. So we defeat him pretty easily since it's the first time, but then since Kratos isn't ready to continue deeper within Valhalla, he has another stroke and we're back on the island yet again, but with a brand new trophy. Okay, so skipping the entire beginning part once more, we find ourselves in Greece again where I found this special object. So I obviously picked it up and got a trophy for that, before fighting more enemies until I reached Tyr again, who was now more powerful, but still not quite powerful enough for me, so I beat him just to then get lectured on all the horrible things Kratos had done in his previous life, which obviously breaks his brain again and we're back on the island. So then again for the third time, we go through an entire run again, killing everyone in the process, and end up making our way to Tyr again, who is even more powerful this time. But once again, I beat him literally the same way and once again got lectured before having yet another stroke, and you guessed it, landing back on the island. Yeah, I know, it's pretty repetitive. Next run, however, once I arrived in the final area, I came across Pandora's statue, which I also picked up for another trophy. Oh, and also during every run, part of the rewards you get were these fleeting echoes things, and on this final run, I somehow got 15,000 of them, which was kind of useless at that point, but whatever, it gave us this trophy right here. So once again, I fought my way to Tyr, who had now reached his final form and was now way stronger. Too strong in fact, because I died, so this entire run ended up being for pretty much nothing, which was just fun. But once I made my way back to him, this time I defeated him and reached the final part of Valhalla, where Kratos comes face to face with his younger self before finally owning his God of War title and sitting on his throne for a while. He then steps out of Valhalla since we have now fully mastered it and get our final story trophy. So now onto the final cleanup, I ended up visiting all of the 9 realms inside of Valhalla for the Wayfarer trophy, and then after going for another run, I unlocked this place called the Forum Arena, and there was actually a berserker waiting for me, so I obviously died since these guys are just impossible to kill, but thankfully just had to fight him to get the trophy. I then collected all 3 boat captain keys, which I'm not sure what they're for, and finally completed 9 master requests for the final trophy on this game. So that's it for the Valhalla trophies, which I enjoyed but not so much since I prefer story related games rather than just straight up combat. But anyway, like and subscribe right now.